But why the Doors?
I told you we're the band you love to hate.
Hmm.
You know, I could write an American folk song, you know, something that would appeal to everyone. And everyone would say, gee, what a great guy.
Hi, everyone. It's Naomi Fry of The New Yorker here, your trusty neighborhood Doors superfan. Last episode, we talked about Los Angeles and the cultural stew that gave birth to the Doors. Can a stew give birth to something? This might be mixing metaphors, but anyway, in future episodes, we'll get into what Jim Morrison teaches us about masculinity and fame. We'll talk about the appeal of the rock and roll lifestyle. We'll share big thoughts about how cultural norms can shift. I mean, look, there's going to be plenty of time to overthink this band. But for now, this episode, let's remember the music. The music. 4 kids in a rock band. They loved blues, they loved romantic poetry, they really loved acid. Jim was up front, Robbie was on guitar, John was on drums, and of course Ray was on the keys, just trying to figure out how to fill in the bass parts with his left hand. I mean, what a sound. What a band. So I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Whenever I've written about musicians, I've found that it's sometimes tough to get them to talk about their own music, but what they do love to talk about is the music of others that they love. And so today, 2 incredible musicians who are huge and maybe surprising Doors fans. First up, we have Lucinda Williams, alt country legend. Her father was a literature professor. She was a young teenager in the late 60s, just discovering her music taste, right in that sweet spot to fall for the songs of the Doors and the mystique of Jim Morrison. She also, in our conversation, basically nailed the thesis for this podcast. Here's Lucinda.
I remember going to someone's house for dinner one night in L.A., and I said, let's put some music on. And he said, what do you want to hear? And I said, how about the Doors? And somebody said, the Doors? I started running into that from time to time, and why would someone not want to listen to the Doors?
I think that only makes you believe more, you know? It makes you dig in. You gotta dig in deeper.
That second voice you just heard is Walter Martin. He's been a member of indie bands like Jonathan Fireeater and the Walkmen, and has made a series of solo records as well. Walt also hosts the Walter Martin Radio Hour every week, where he talks about the music he loves. Oh, and he plays the organ, just like Ray Manzarek. Coming up in indie rock circles, Walter kind of had to hold on to his love of the Doors like a secret. But I think he's ready to just acknowledge how great they are.
Like a lot of people, I have a tendency to like make fun of it. But like when I was listening to it today, I was just kind of imagining like what it would be like if there wasn't like the Oliver Stone movie and there wasn't like the whole myth and there wasn't all that stuff. It was like something where I walked into like a basement party and the Doors were playing The End or something, or playing whatever, one of their great songs. And I don't think I would have all those sort of whatever pretentious over the top cornball associations I sometimes, and I think a lot of people sometimes fall into.
Lucinda Williams and Walter Martin, 2 brilliant musicians who thought a lot about what makes the Doors special. Before we started recording, we were chatting about how Lucinda recently opened a bar in the East Village. It's called Lucinda's, and one of her jobs was to curate the jukebox. And of course, there's some Doors on there. So let's start with that, the Dream Doors playlist.
Is everybody in?
This is episode 2.
Everybody in?
It's time to listen to some music.
The ceremony is about to begin.
Walt, if you were to curate a jukebox and you were allowed one Doors song.
Oh my! I guess it depends on what kind of bar, right? Like my gut. I think I want to say Soul Kitchen.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know. The song that pops into my mind, and I know y'all are going to roll your eyes and go, oh yeah, right. Everybody says that, but I still love Light My Fire.
Light My Fire is great.
That is
That
is the best song.
It still gets me going. That song.
Yeah.
It's just, to this day.
Yeah, it really is a great
Yeah.
one, and it's funny because
It's your
melodically,
Slinky.
harmonically, it's so kind of weird and ugly, but somehow it's so great. It's sometimes just like, it's amazing to me that it's a pop song because it's so funny sounding and so
Right.
so ugly kind of.
The time to hesitate is through. No time.
What you said just then, there lies the genius of what they did.
Right, it's true.
You brought up the term pop song.
Yeah.
I never would have thought of them as pop songwriters, but I guess the definition of a pop song is the more widespread appeal of it. It gets played on the radio a lot. Everybody knows
Yeah.
it. Everybody's heard it. In those terms, yeah, they were pop songwriters.
Well, what do you mean when you say ugly? Like that's an interesting term for that song. Do you mean like the organ?
Just I guess it's
organ
those
arc or
chords. It's the main chords in the verse. For some reason, they give me the willies.
Yeah.
Like in any other context, if I heard those two chords, I'd be like, I don't like this. This
I know what you mean.
isn't my music. But so it's amazing to me that it works. And I guess it's just the turnaround in the chorus where it suddenly sort of gets a little bit more sunny, that it makes the whole thing sort of come together in a magical way.
I know what you mean, though.
Yeah.
It's kind of that satanic. It has satanic connections.
I think it does, right?
'Cause
it does. It does.
that was
yeah.
It's like they had this secret magical thing, and trying to lure all those really pretty young girls in the 1960s with their mini skirts and long legs, That's what he was always singing about,
It's true.
I mean, yeah, there's that darkness that sort of like it's kind of like it's a little bit Manson, right? The
Oh,
sort of,
definitely, yeah.
the connection.
Ooh.
Yeah, the violence.
Yeah.
There's definitely like a violence thing, right? I mean, I think I was listening to the end earlier, which is like the first one that I was like, when I got really hooked, it was that one. And it's like the talking parts, And I remember just like the cliche thing of like whatever. I mean, like the killer awoke before dawn and all that stuff. Like I remember hearing that when I was, 17 and being like so thrilled. Make like my heart race, because it's like, it just sounds so scary. It sounds so violent. I didn't know what he was talking about, but just like it was said with such conviction that it like scared the daylights out of me. I just wanted to hear more, and then those drums come in. Those drums are so fantastic.
Then you have to remember, as a young woman listening to this, or a girl listening to this when I was a teenager too, in the 60s. I mean, when they first came out, looking at his photograph in all of his glory,
Yeah.
and he looks like a Greek god.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So again, you've got the goddesses, Satan. I mean, it's all in there. It's like Old Testament, the apocalypse.
Yeah, the Satan thing is powerful. Like and like all the, I don't know. I was listening to like I also remember like always sticking out like all the sort of like nightmare apocalypse, like apocalypse on the farm vibe. Like the animals and like the horses. Like legs furiously pumping and like the whatever the engine runs on glue and tar and like what are the other ones? Like I don't know, the little cobra on my left, leopard on my right, all the animal stuff.
Not to touch the earth, not to see the sun, nothing left to do but run,
Yes,
run, run.
that one I loved. I loved that one.
Yeah.
Touch the earth, not to see the sun. Nothing left to do but run, run, run. Let's run.
Yeah, it is biblical. I think it is. I mean, you said Old Testament. Yes,
Yeah.
Lucinda, I think that's totally right. The sort of, house upon a hill, moon is lying
totally,
still. And Lucinda, your father was a poet, right?
Right.
So was that something, the kind of poetry aspect of Morrison's lyrics and also, literally poetry?
I think that had
Was
a
that
lot.
something?
That had a lot to do with it. But the other thing I was going to say was their to me, well, at a certain point, I got into really deep, dark, the roots of Delta blues, which is all that stuff you just said, you know. And so I knew that he had been listening to that stuff, you know. Like I was listening to this song yesterday, and it was someone had done a version of, it's called John the Revelator. Tom Waits did a version of it that's brilliant.
Okay.
And the whole song is about who's that coming. It's John the Revelator. The book of, it says this and that, and then the book of the seven seals. You know, I mean, that's heavy duty, deep, crazy Old Testament, dark stuff.
Right. Totally. Yeah. I sometimes, and I think a lot of people sometimes fall into with a lot of his music, a lot of the lyric stuff, just because like it's so there. It's not that bad. I mean, sure, when he tries it, when it's written out and maybe like, you know, it's like in poetry book form and people call him a poet and whatever, his fans go a little bit cuckoo with his genius and with all this stuff. But just as like a rock band using that sort of whatever basic language, talking about animals and talking about whatever satanic stuff and killing people but it's not done.
And girls with long legs.
And girls with long legs, right.
She's a 20th century fox. She's a 20th century fox. No tail.
I don't know. Just listening to it through that lens, it just didn't sound as over the top as I usually like just reflexively imagine it being. You know, it's cool. You know, it has that. It's definitely very cool.
Yes. Well, anytime you mix poetic lyrics with rock music, it's going to be a success. David Byrne did it
right
really well.
Yeah. Yeah.
know?
And he in a different way was, I think, accused of being, I mean, it wasn't, not in the same way in the Doors, this sort of cosmic, kind of dark hippie thing, but more in the kind of like sophisticated, snooty New Yorker, like slash RISD type thing, right? Yeah. It was sort of like, oh, you're too smart for your own good or something. Is that something that either of you has ever been kind of accused of, or kind of like, I mean, Walt, your lyrics, of course, are, I mean, it's not poetry, but the lyrics are very important in your, in your work. You tell stories, you have characters. It's like, it's kind of like a central thing in for your music. And Lucinda, like, or your lyrics are, I mean, you could call them poetic, but they're not showy, they're not like Morrison-esque, I would say. Yeah. Like they're not kind of big P, kind of capital P poetry. I guess, what do you feel about lyricism in your own work, if you think about it vis-a-vis the Doors?
I mean, the thing that crosses my mind when I'm hearing you talk about that is listening to my father discuss with his creative writing students.
Mm-hmm.
They would come over to the house and sit up all night with my dad talking about whether Bob Dylan was a poet or a songwriter.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad his thinking was, he's not a poet, he's a songwriter. They would say, no, he's a poet.
Mm-hmm.
So I immediately was exposed to that way of thinking,
Yeah.
Because they are really two different animals, completely.
Totally. Yeah. And I mean, when Dylan got the Nobel Prize, I think that was like the main question, right? It's like, he's not a poet. He is a poet.
Yeah, it's pretty rare, I guess, that you read written lyrics. I guess it happens sometimes, and they read great. I guess some Leonard Cohen stuff reads pretty great. I think some Smith stuff reads kind of great, actually. But I don't know about Jim. I mean, I remember like when I was 17 probably, I got Wilderness, the Jim Morrison poetry book, and I I
remember that it had this sort of like silvery cover.
I don't remember. I didn't have the jacket. I had the hardback, and it was just like that sort of black cloth.
Oh, okay.
But it was like
okay.
dog-eared though. I used to pour through. I think that was like the first poetry book I ever had. So it was like.
I think for a lot of people, it was their first encounter.
Right, totally.
With poetry, with like a poetry book.
Right.
I mean, it might have been mine as
Yeah,
well.
it's kind of funny.
I think.
Let's reinvent the gods, all the myths of the ages. Celebrate symbols from deep elder forests. Have you forgotten the lessons of the ancient war? We need great golden copulations.
I think when I think of what I write, I think of my stuff being like, I think I could not be more different from Jim Morrison. I think because like even if I'm trying to say something or if I've composed a line in a way that I'm proud of or something, I for some reason have an instinct. I think it's just more of a modern instinct to remind people constantly that I'm just some schmuck. I'm just some guy, like. And I think the power of Jim Morrison stuff is that he's in character. You see any interview, any split second of him, picking up the water in the between songs, he's always that guy. I mean, he jokes around. He does joke around. I was thinking about in preparing for the podcast. I was thinking about I mean, he is funny. He's made me laugh. His stuff on stage, whatever, talking about like whatever, the grasshopper and all this sort of stupid stuff. He's funny, but it all fits. He never really breaks character. He's never like, by the way, obviously I'm just, this army brat kid from Florida screwing around up here. There's none of that. And the whole band buys it too. The whole band, they're like disciples. When you hear them talk about Jim, they talk about him like he's a god, and being a guy who's been in a band forever, I don't know. You don't think of the lead singer as a god. You think of the lead singer as the person you kind of want to kill a lot of the time.
Yeah. Well, and for them, and I think it was both, right?
I mean, yeah.
They certainly wanted to kill him, but then, Ray Manzarek, like until his death, maintained that Jim was a god,
Before you killed him, you had to fuck him. Sorry.
I guess that's true.
Is that the end of the podcast?
That's it.
Absolutely. This is, Lucinda, this is just the beginning.
This is where it starts. Yeah, this is where we go to the dark side. This is where he broke on through, right?
Well, it's true. I mean, it's true. I mean, how can you talk about Jim Morrison without saying the word fuck?
I think it's interesting, you both being musicians who grew up listening to The Doors, how that got kind of metabolized into your own work. Where do you feel the influence lies, if at all? Obviously, both of you don't make Doors music, but is that somewhere in there?
Yeah, it's definitely in there.
Mm-hmm.
When I was, when we were in high school, like my band, we tried to sound like them. We had like these long, like drawn out songs that we're like, let's just not plan it. Let's just like see what happens, And then the same thing would happen. We get really loud, then we get really quiet, then we get really loud, then we get really quiet, then it'll be over. Yeah, as far as like, I don't know if the music I've ever done since back then, I've felt like there was much Doors in it. Maybe some like, I mean, I love the Doors. I love the side, there are many sides to them, and I do love the side of them that's like that sort of party rock, that sort of garage rock vibe. I think of like Break On Through and Soul Kitchen and like Wild Child and stuff like that. And I appreciate that they can do all the drama, but then they can also just like hunker down and do like a really hot little boogie. And those ones are great. Those ones are trying, like Love Me Two Times and stuff like that. I mean, it's just got like a undeniable great little groove, a simple little lyric, and it's just like, oh, okay, who are these guys?
Yeah, I agree. And the other thing that was cool that I was drawn to was, that ability to rock out and then do this beautiful ballad kind of thing. Like,
Indian Summer was always the one that got me. I love that one.
Better than
I don't know. Yeah, there are a bunch of the really pretty slow ones. It's funny that they can do, just kind of, you never would have guessed that they could suddenly just break into something that's actually pretty. I mean, Indian Summer is very pretty.
I mean, that pretty ugly thing. I wonder, how do you guys look at, I mean, you've played extensively. I mean, Walter you were in the Walkmen for a long time, and Lucinda, you obviously played. You're a singer, but you also obviously played with bands, and it's just the kind of give and take between Morrison as a figure and the Doors, the band. Like, I wonder about that because I think for a lot of people, the Doors are Morrison.
Right.
It's kind of like that's, you know, the end all and be all, the sort of idolatry of this figure and his lyrics and his legend. And of course, the fact that he died first and young and et cetera, et cetera. But then there is so much in the band. I mean, there's obviously, I mean, Walt, you're an organist yourself, and there's the organ. There's the Ray organ, which is crucial, I think. And what do you think about that? About the band's role?
I know what you're saying, yes, and I agree. The band had so much, if not everything, to do with their success. I mean, I was actually, I remember being blown away, by the musical arrangements, and I used to wonder, like, how are they making this work? What are they doing to make that sound that way, And so much of it had to do with the organ.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like they weren't really a guitar-driven band.
Right.
Which is what most of the rock bands were that I was listening to, like Hendrix and, and Keith Richards and the Stones, that everybody talked about the guitar. That was one thing that set them apart, I think, was the keyboards were the kind of the main melodic part of the band.
Right, yeah. And rhythmic part. I think the fact that he had to play the bass parts on his left hand and it left him only one hand to do everything else. I think it really made it so it has that primitive whatever. That what reads to me is sort of garage rock. I don't know if it was Ray Manzarek if it was his first choice, because I think a lot of times when they're in the studio and he can mess around, he adds a lot of doodads onto the songs that I don't love. But when it's just the band live or just a simple recording like the first record, when he's can only play rhythm, then it really does have that sort of that garage rock quality that I think is very cool, and that's why it's funny, like, because the band is such the perfect band for Jim Morrison, because they they talk about all these these references, how they're pulling in like Bach and like John Coltrane and McCoy Tyner and all this stuff into the music. It's kind of like, just don't talk about that. Just please stop talking about that. Right. It kind of just spoils it. I mean, and after, 40, 50 years later, if you think about the fact that they're thinking about that when you're listening to it, there's a sort of a stink in the room. I would rather just listen to it. But it's the same thing that Jim Morrison mythologizing does with everybody whatever, like Nietzsche, Oscar Wilde, all this stuff that he's bringing in there. But they all just believe it so hard that, it's cool.
Yeah.
I think also, I mean, Walter, this kind of brings me to another question that I was wondering about. You, obviously, you came up with Jonathan Fireeater and then the Walkmen, and you mentioned how you spent your 20s at Brownies or part of your 20s. You were part of this kind of like indie rock revival, early aughts, New York City. I mean, you're from DC, but you moved to New York. And I think like we don't often think of like if there is any type of connection between the Doors and indie rock. Right. I feel like indie rock has maybe kind of rejected the Doors as an influence and I wonder if it has to do with the kind of like say less part of things, where you were saying when you were talking about like, like I don't need to hear about your like Ray Manzarek's like whatever toccata and fugue like influences or whatever. Right. Like I just talk less and like just don't be uncool. And I wonder if that is kind of like a indie rock was like
indie rock was definitely grossed out by the Doors. Like I guess it was like a pet passion of mine. But one that I didn't, I buried it for a while because I didn't really think about it. But like, it really is the opposite of so much of that music. There's very little. Just trying to think of like any band who feels like that remotely. Does any band feel like that? I don't know. I mean, I guess
Well, Noah Chernin, one of our producers, yesterday when we were on the prep call for this episode, he said that he sees actually a strong connection between the Strokes and the Doors.
Really?
Which surprised me, but I can sort of see it. With Julian is kind of a crooner, I guess,
Right.
and
Right.
kind of not unlike Morrison. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of things that are different for sure.
Yeah, I think I see it more today, like in people, maybe like Chapel Row and people like the whole theatrical thing. I feel like
The
is coming
theatricality.
back a bit, or maybe that's been back for a while. But yeah, but I see it in Chapel Row, like
Yeah.
Tyler the Creator, maybe like that big. We just saw him in Brooklyn, and it was like big theatrical show. I mean, I don't think it's inspired by the Doors, but I think that they're that drive to make a performance just like a big dramatic thing. For sure. But yeah, indie rock is much more like humble, I think it's all just like, it's much more like the idea of being super passionate and talking about like whatever, snakes and like horses and things like that. I don't know. It doesn't really make sense.
I think part of it is the whole indie rock thing too. That at some point, it quit, the whole rock music field quit becoming, based on literature. Like you
Sure.
reeling off all these names of really important writers. People, they quit reading.
Yeah.
That's such a good point.
It wasn't about reading anymore. It was just about getting fucked up. So, I mean, frankly, that's what I think killed intelligent rock, if you want to call it that,
Right.
That's a really good point. I think in general in culture, the sort of fear of appearing too highbrow or too well-read or having any sorts of influences that are separate from kind of
getting fucked up.
Yeah, the kind of like the impulse to just that id like thing, right?
Like a dog without a bone and actor out on loan. Riders on the storm.
I mean, do you remember when Morrison died? I mean, do you remember hearing about it?
Yeah.
Was it just like, oh, another rock and roll death, or was it meaningful?
Yeah, it was meaningful. Mysterious. There was the mysteriousness of it,
right?
Or the mystery of it, and
right, because pretty immediately there were rumors about him that it was fake. I remember seeing his sister talking about it, how she even thought that maybe he had faked his death because she was like, "That's the kind of thing that my older brother would do." So I think those things, which they still talk about today, those things seem to have started pretty quick.
Yeah.
You guys been to his burial site there in Paris?
Well, so when I was in 9th grade, I dragged my poor parents in Paris to go see. We were in Paris, and I was like, I want to go to Père Lachaise to see the Jim Morrison's grave, and my parents were like, okay. So we went, and I remember it was like not as grand as I expected it to be. Like it was kind of small.
Totally, yeah. I did a very similar thing, yeah.
And then I was in Paris like 3 weeks ago, and I hadn't been to Paris, weirdly, since then, since 9th grade. Like it's been many years. And I said, because I'm doing this podcast and I'm always thinking about the Doors, I was like, I'm going to go to Père Lachaise. And I was alone. I was traveling alone. I was like, I'm going to go and visit Morrison's grave. But it was a windy day. And when I got to Père Lachaise, it was closed because of the wind.
Oh, no.
Apparently they're very testy there. And so I was at the gates.
Oh, no.
Let me in.
That was probably Jim. I'm trying to think of like a Doors joke, a line that would apply. But there probably is one, but I can't find it right now.
Did you see? Because when we were over there recently to play, and some of the guys went on a trek and went to the
grave.
Cherry. Yeah.
Okay. And what did they say?
I didn't go with them for some reason. But they came back, with reports of what it was like, and apparently there were some other legendary people also in that same cemetery.
Is he right next to Balzac or something? Isn't he right?
Yeah, there's Balzac is buried there. Chopin
right.
is, I think, buried
Right.
there. Yeah, there's several famous
Yeah.
French. Walt, what do you remember of like going to the grave?
Very similar kind of thing. I remember going taking my parents. I mean, I was obsessed. So like, we're going to see. I just gotta lay my eyes on it. I think my memory of being there is also confused with. Don't they go like show a shot of it at the end of the Doors movie? Maybe.
Yes, they do. That's how the Doors movie ends.
Right.
Na 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 na
Exactly,
na
yeah.
na na.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, right. Like a sort of an orchestral version, or like later Doors version.
Yeah. But the shot at the end of the Doors has the bust, has the Morrison bust on the grave.
Right.
The sort of beautiful, like
Right,
his
right,
hair kind of ringlets like down his shoulders. But when I went, I think the bust had been stolen at some point, and when I went, there was no bust. Yeah, I don't know the status of the bust now because
I don't either, actually.
Was there a bust when you went there?
I think so. But honestly, like it gets so confused with the door. So much of like my Doors imagination from that period is hard to differentiate from the Doors movie. You know.
Okay, I'm being told in the chat by producer Jody that the bust was recovered just this year after almost 40 years.
Wow.
That's a big deal.
That's amazing.
That's worth having a drink and a toast over.
Guys, this was awesome, but let's do like a final. Each of us gets to contribute 3 Doors songs to a jukebox game. Okay? What are your three songs?
Well, I mentioned one, Light My Fire.
Light My Fire.
I feel like everybody's going to go, oh, yeah, I'm right. That's an easy, or something.
Sometimes the easy ones are sometimes it's obvious for a reason. Yeah, because it's just good.
And I have to say Crystal Ship.
Okay.
See, I can see the look on your face. You're like, oh.
No, those are, listen, there are so many to choose from.
There are a lot.
And The End. I know, nothing real obscure, I guess.
Yeah, I probably would have said The End, but you said The End. So I'm going to say, but yeah, The End is my favorite one, I think. That's just the one.
Really? That's interesting that it's your favorite one.
It is.
Because it is like real art rock.
I know.
Like it's not one of those boogie ones that you
like in my privatest of private moments, if I were to pump up the Doors, it would be The End. But
okay.
But if I had to pick 3 without The End, I'm going to say the Soul Kitchen, the Soft Parade, and maybe When the Music's Over. You got to throw a long one in there. Anything
When the Music's
6
Over.
minutes plus, I usually go for the indulgent ones.
When the music's over here, when the music's over, turn up the lights, turn up the lights.
Do you guys still actively listen to the Doors? Do you throw how often a month do you throw on a Doors song?
I listen to the Doors sometimes. Like I'll listen to. I mean, now I have a 14-year-old daughter, and she kind of likes the Doors. And like when we're in the car, she always puts on her music, and she knows. And sometimes she just puts on music that she likes without consideration of whether I like it or not. But sometimes she's like, oh, okay, and she'll like put on like a Doors song, and she's like. She turns to me and she's like, you look so happy. You look how happy you look. And I always think that's really nice.
That is nice.
Yeah.
It is.
Do you listen still, Lucinda?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've been traveling a lot for the last couple of years. So, I don't always have access to the stuff I'm going to listen to, but it's interesting because what you were saying before about the indie bands and they're not into the Doors and stuff. I remember feeling surprised that I was still kind of carrying the banner, for the Doors.
Right.
And yeah.
We're bringing it back. That's what we're
But my
doing
worry
here.
about if you bring it back, if it gets brought back, then suddenly everybody, it's on all the hipsters are walking around with Doors t-shirts, and it's gonna change my relationship with them again. Like what
You can't win. You just can't win the whole hipster thing and the whatever the other opposite of the hipster is.
I think at this point we're lifers, and it's
Yeah.
okay, and nothing can shake our
Right. We're just
our
gonna ride
lifelong
it out.
commitment.
We're gonna ride it out. We're riders on the storm.
Exactly. We're riders on the storm of the Doors.
Right.
So Naomi, what were your three? What were your three Doors songs? Did you say?
Oh, let's see. I mean, I would have to say "Light My Fire"
Yeah.
if I can also repeat one. I mean, it's
There
just
is a
so
magic.
there's a magic in the long version.
Yeah.
Not the one cut for radio. Which is like literally how long is it? It's like 16 minutes or something. No, I'm exaggerating, but it's like really long. There's a song I really love. I think from Waiting for the Sun, which is maybe my favorite album. Wintertime Love.
What's that?
Do you remember that
Yes, I
song?
love that one.
I love that
It's
song.
Wintertime
It's
Love.
like it's
Why don't I know that?
it's like I'm not gonna try to I'm not gonna try to sing it, but it's really maybe you should.
It's almost a waltz.
It's a waltz. Falling in love, I'm hoping to be. Winds are so cold, is that the reason?
Okay.
Keeping you warm. New hands
That's on Waiting for the
touching
Sun.
me.
Winter's so cold this year.
That's one. I do have a soft spot for Unknown Soldier.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh God, I forgot about that one. That's right.
Especially when they do it live
Yeah.
and they do that whole
I
like
love
execution
that
thing.
song.
Where he like falls.
Yeah, I mean that's great. That like makes
right.
your hair stand on end. It's
Yeah.
very cool.
And when they did
Yeah.
that, the sound effect of the
Yeah.
gun.
Of the it's the drum.
Yeah, and he's
God,
like,
that
"Going."
used
Oh, yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That blew my mind when I was 16.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
totally. Yeah, and he falls on the
Because
ground.
it also has the anti-war,
Totally,
Yes.
the anti-war
and
sentiment,
the son of the Navy
yeah.
man in the leather pants there sprawled out on the ground. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, so those would be mine, maybe. I mean, I'm sure many more that I'm forgetting. Yeah, I'll think about them. I'll write.
Days.
Strange
Yeah.
Days is amazing. Another spooky song that makes
Yeah.
you feel scared.
And the Alabama song, which I
anyway.
did really dislike when I was in high school. I've come to love the Alabama song. It's a great. That one should be on a jukebox, because there's the dumbness of it.
Well, it's a
The
bar.
lunkheadness
Yeah,
of it is
it's
great. I
yeah.
love the lunkhead side
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah. This is the drunken
Yeah,
side.
totally.
Yeah. The drunken oaf.
Totally. Yeah.
Drunken oaf side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Show me the way to the next whiskey bar.
You guys, I never want this to end. However,
I know.
we are nearing time, but this is so fun.
It was very fun.
Lucinda, do you ever come to New York?
Yeah.
Let's hang out at your bar.
I was going to say yes.
I tell you we must die. I tell you we must die.
Thanks for listening to Really? The Doors? Our executive producers are Noah Chernin and Jody Avirgan, and Ian Wheeler at Talkhouse. Thanks to Jake Bowman and Keenan Kush for production support. Thanks again to our sponsor, Bootleg. I'm Naomi Fry. You can check out my writing at The New Yorker, and I appear weekly on the New Yorker podcast, Critics at Large, where they tore down the Jim Morrison poster I hung up in the studio. See you next time.
No more money, no more fancy dress. This other kingdom seems by far the best, until its other jaw reveals incest and loose obedience to a vegetable law. I will not go. Prefer a feast of friends to a giant family.